Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here. Part three of Black Thursdays. Well, technically it's Friday now because I was going to say it's midnight. I forgot midnight is a new day, but it's according to my laptop time it's midnight. According to my mobile time, it's a couple of minutes left till midnight, so a couple of minutes away from each other. But it's approximately midnight here in the UK anyway. But yeah, I hope Black people around the world enjoy these videos, and obviously their allies as well, and people generally who want to support me, who are kind enough to support me. As ever, I welcome your support and comments and things like that, especially likes and sharing of the video and comments, actually, possibly even more. But anyway, I'm going to try not to waffle too much, and I did want to try and finish these before Friday, just because I can get on to Friday's plans tomorrow, but technically it's today. But anyway, I hope you have a great Friday, by the way, everyone out there, and enjoy yourselves and all that kind of thing. But anyway, here goes. This is Black Thursdays part 3, as I say. So as ever, please let me know what you think. If there's any ways I can improve, any constructive criticism. Sorry if it's a bit dark. I just didn't want to put those big lights on because I think they're a bit too much. But here goes. So number 21. I'm not a big fan of culture or tradition. As I say, to me, it's living in the past. I know I've mentioned this before, but I know I'm very repetitive. Another bad habit of mine, but just like the punctuation and things like that. But I would love to know what you think of what you think Black culture or Black tradition is, or what are some Black traditions, possibly from Africa or from around the world, and how do they differ from each other, like different countries. Is Jamaican culture different, or Jamaican traditions different, or Jamaican traditions different to African ones, for instance? Same with Britain and elsewhere, and what can they learn from each other about their traditions, and like what do they have in common, and what's different about each tradition? I think that would be quite interesting. Another thing is sticking on the theme of alliterations, as I often say, hence why I say tradition. Traditions and all that kind of thing. I did mention before on Tuesday about TV shows, and if there were special Black versions of TV shows, maybe some people could make like a version of. Maybe the people who made Only Fools and Horses could make a Black British version if they were interested in that idea, or if it was permissible to do. Maybe Black British people can make their own version, obviously, as I say, with permission of the original TV show makers, Only Fools and Horses makers, and I suppose being careful of copyright and never encourage people to break the law. But it would be interesting to see also if Black British people made like something on YouTube, which it would be like if Only Fools and Horses was made by Black people or something like that. So a Black version. I suppose the closest thing I could think of is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but it's probably not really that similar, really. But I mean, both are sitcoms or whatever. But I'd love to know what TV shows Black people could make of their own, maybe even, and also versions of like Pointless or Deal or No Deal or things like that. Now, Pointless is for those who are outside the UK. Again, I may have mentioned this before, but my memory is not always that great, but especially short-term memory. But long-term memory is excellent, actually, I think. But anyway, Pointless is a British TV show where it's whoever gets the most obscure answer wins. So an answer no one else can come up with, hence it's a pointless answer. But basically, it's whoever gets the lowest score wins. I don't really watch it that much, but as far as I'm aware, it's whoever gets. I've seen it a few times, but not that many. But whoever gets the lowest score wins. So yeah, I think it's quite an interesting show. But it'd be interesting if they had so Black British people talking about history, Black British history, achievements, facts, figures, stats, and things like that, and that kind of thing. And similar for Countdown, Deal or No Deal, and other TV shows. I'd love to know what people think about that idea. I hope people won't be too harsh if they think the idea is rubbish. But also TV, I suppose most importantly, I guess just as importantly, shall we say, is what TV producers themselves think, TV show producers. So I guess it would be important to have an audience as well, but the ones who are going to produce it in the first place what they think of the idea, or if they want to test it and see if it'll work. But again, I'd love to know what you think, and I think it could be an interesting way to learn about Black History Month. I think that covers everything for point number 21. But I'd love for people to share information on that note, though, about actually one more point I could say before I move on. On that one is if anyone has any facts or stats or information about Black history that you want to share, please do. Could be especially positive ones like achievements and things like that. Number 22, what could the future hold? Maybe it could be, instead of Black History Month, maybe there could be like Black Futures Month or something, where it looks at what Black people can achieve in the future and what they could be supported to achieve and things like that. Number 23, as I often mention, I'd love to see what political parties, councils, specific councillors perhaps, but especially councils, politicians, political parties, businesses, organisations and whatnot could do to invest in the Black community and support the Black community and employ many members of the Black community and things like that. What different businesses, corporations and whatnot could do, even big investors and whatnot. But another thing is I was wondering if there are loopholes, or not I don't know if loopholes are the right way to put it, but ways to legally pay the lowest amount of taxes, but also save money on things like shopping, and also things like bills and even mortgages. Are there cheaper ways they could save money on those sorts of things? Most importantly, legally. I always say legal and preferably ethical. Ethical is debatable, but always sticking within the law. So I think that's really important, and I always encourage that for people generally. Number 24, I'd love to know about different facts about Black History Month from all different parts of the world, like when different countries have their own Black History Month, what they could learn from each other, what Black people could do by networking together all around the world as well, and what they could learn from each other, like what Black British people can learn from African Americans and vice versa. Similar with Africa, Indigenous Australasians, and how they could support each other, as I say in areas like tech, which I mentioned before, like those. So Black people who have done well in tech, those who are Black in tech could help others to learn about. So maybe there could be ways they could connect. I'd love to find out ways they could connect, maybe on Zoom, maybe on websites or things like that, and that kind of thing. But I'd love to know which one or ones do you think would be the best ways for Black people to connect globally, internationally, worldwide, whichever term you want to use. I use those terms interchangeably. Number 25, I'd love for African countries to host Republican events, so like bringing together republics from all around the world to network together in politics, business, sports, and all sorts of different ways. It'd be great to see African countries, which are mostly republics, just like Asian nations, I believe, also mainly republics. It'd be great to see how they could connect with other republics around the world. As someone who's biased in favour of republics, but I'd love to know what from different political views as well from the Black community, like how they differ and that kind of thing. Opinion polls from the Black community. I think that'd be cool if I was more organised and not so reclusive, and I had like a microphone and could go out and ask questions like some people do, like street interviews. If I could do that kind of thing, I would ask opinions and things like that in the politest possible way. Obviously, I don't want to get punched, but no, I'm serious. I would ask them questions about their views on politics or Black History Month or all sorts of things. I know my communication style probably needs improving though, so people understand me. Number 26, I'd love to know what people think about reparations, talking about different opinions. If anyone's seen my previous videos, you'll probably know I'm quite a supporter of reparations, but I also do like support freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So if people disagree with me, that's fine, but hopefully they won't be too rude about it. But me personally, I think, for instance, the Windrush generation should be reparated. I also think that, I know the government's already having a system to try and get compensation, but I think they should speed that up if it's not already been done. And as I say, I think people of colour, especially members of the Black community, should be tax exempt, or at least pay the least amount of taxes possible, or maybe like have their taxes written off at least for October or something like that, or preferably pay as little tax as possible. and be able to keep that money into the community. And reparations could go to a community leader who could invest or support someone who's a unifying figure amongst the black community. So if people ask that, how do you know that money's going to be is really going to empower the black community and be used well? I think that's a way to do so that unifying figure can invest in his community. But maybe I'm being naive, his or her community. Maybe I'm being naive, but I think it's worth debating and putting the idea out there and coming up with different ideas and seeing trying them out and seeing how they go. But I think as well, like now we have the minimum wage here in the UK, and probably many countries. I know America kind of has it, and many countries around the world, most countries probably have the minimum wage. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure during the days of slavery there was no minimum wage, so slaves were paid just enough to live on, probably. And if they died, probably just be replaced, and there weren't any human rights or workers' rights or things like that. So I think that maybe if they were backdated and paid what they would have been paid, and they had a minimum wage back then, in today's money, I think the Black British community as well as African American community could be given billions, maybe even hundreds of billions, because like if you look at underpaid work, again, when there was no minimum wage or stuff like that, and they were just made to just survive, things like that. But anyway, that's something I could go on about all night or all day and all night. So I'm going to move on. Number 27, as I often say, like, and I know I try and keep these different for different days and different themes. So I hope I've managed to keep them at least a little bit different for each day. But maybe there could be, as I say, there could be a list of the top organisations, companies, even corporations and whatnot that have supported the black community. They could be acknowledged and that kind of thing. There was a point I was going to say in number 26, but I forgot that point. But I'm going to move on. Number 28, maybe I'll say that point I was going to make, but it was quite a complex one. I suppose this is a little bit off topic in a way because it's not quite specifically about the black community or whatnot. But I was thinking how you should treat anyone, even it's easier said than done, treating everyone equally, but even your own parents to an extent. I think how people should treat. I would say, may your children treat you when you're old and frail, just as you treat them when they were small and weak. So, and I suppose that goes for anyone who's in a position of power. May you be treated as you treat others. That's one thing I think of. Like, so I think if someone says, "How do you think I should put my parents in an old people's home, or do you think I should treat my parents badly, or whatever?" If you're in a position to do so, and I would ask the question like, "How did your parents treat you when you grew up?" And if they hit you when you didn't do something you agree with, maybe you should return the favor. And if they did something that you didn't like, maybe they said they hit you because for your own good or because you were not very polite, then maybe you could say, well, you're doing the same thing back. And I know that's a very controversial view, but I was thinking if your parents brought you up, looked after you, made sure you had a house, made sure you had a roof over your head and enough to eat and enough to drink, then I think you should return the favor and make sure that you try and look after them exactly the same way, for better or worse. So if they treat you badly, for better or worse or better, if they treat you badly, I think maybe you should return the favor. And if they treat you well, I think they should also return the favor. I say part jokingly, part tongue-in-cheek, but I think that I'd say like may your children treat you as you treat them if they ever get into a position. And I suppose some parents will probably have to think, would that be, if they're honest with themselves, do you think you'd be in a good position or not? I'm sure there's something else I was going to say, but yeah, that's one thing I probably don't like about some cultures, like including maybe black culture, where maybe like they say you have to respect your elders. I'm not a big fan of that. I think we should be more equal, but that's a controversial view of mine. Number 29, I'd love to hear any other people's ideas about how they can support the black community. And as I said before, I know I'm very repetitive. I've got to stop repeating myself, but I'm struggling to come up with new ideas, as you can probably tell. But I think it would be interesting to see how mixed race and other minority groups can support the black community. And another thing is, and again, I know I mentioned this point before, but what dyslexics and black people have in common, as it's both Black History Month and Dyslexia Awareness Month. And number 30, as ever, I'd love to know any ideas you have. And I'm sure there were some ideas I was going to say, but they probably slipped my mind because sometimes I forget. And later on think, oh, why didn't I say that? But anyway, peace and love. I'm out.